Keno, we live on YouTube.
I just hit the go live button. We
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, as soon as I pull it down, everything should be up and we can go.
Okay.
Are we good? I think we're good, Roland, if you're good.
Yeah, once he pulls that graphic down, we're live.
Okay.
All right, brothers, how we doing? Hope all is well with you on this Sunday, August 11th, 2024. We are 8 or 9 days away, if you will, from the start of the Democratic National Convention. There's been a whole lot that has been happening, a whole lot going on since we last talked a couple of weeks ago, of course, from our original call that took place as well. So the whole point of this is for us to keep you updated, a couple of weeks ago, you informed, of course, from our original call that took place as well. That is important because there are so many different things that are happening, so many moving parts. Over the last week, you saw massive rallies take place with Vice President Kamala Harris, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz in various cities. We saw, of course, in Detroit, Wisconsin, in Nevada, just unbelievable response that took place in Arizona and Nevada as well. Thousands upon thousands of people is driving Donald Trump absolutely crazy. New polling has also come out. We're going to go over some of those things as well because the map is sort of expanding. But here's the most important thing that we need everybody to understand. Elections are not won in August. What's coming up are going to be the deadlines to register to vote. Our focus has to be on making sure that people are registered. Get the word out. Go to iwillvote.com. That way you can double check your voting status. A lot of these Republicans in these states have been playing games when it comes to folks voter registration. So do not assume you are registered. Double check your status. Go to iwillvote.com. So once we deal with voter registration deadlines, then of course we're going to be dealing with when early voting starts. And so we're going to make sure get you those dates, absentee ballot voting dates as well. So there are a lot of things that are going on. And don't forget, if you're out of the country, you can vote as well. Sam Jackson dropped a video about that. We're going to show that a little bit, show you that a little bit later for you. But right now, I want to bring up Executive Director, Women with Black Men, Khalil Thompson. Khalil?
Roland, happy to be here with you. I am back in the factory, continuing to work hard. I know we are merging a couple of our StreamYard and some other folks from other different applications who are coming here. So I know in one platform, we've got up to 250 people. I know you got about 500 to 1,000 folks over here on StreamYard who are all listening in. So really excited to have everybody here to be joining us. You know, what really struck me this morning was I was reading a lot of different news publications and trying to take all the information in. But I was reading a New York Times article that talked about how Black men are supporting Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, for her historic presidential bid. They referenced Shirley Chisholm in her previous presidential nomination that she sought and what we saw in Georgia in 2018 and 2022. It was a conversation about misogyny and how Black men haven't historically, or may not have historically, for those that are trying to sow discontent, have supported women in our community. I want to espouse that notion for everybody on this call right now. We are all here because we believe in a better tomorrow for our children, for our grandchildren, and for our communities. We are here because all of us came in some way, shape, or form from a Black woman, and they have given us guidance that we believe to be the greater men on this call. I believe, as I share with my mom, my aunts, my cousins, my sister, and my amazing 7-year-old CEO. She runs my life on day to day. She's a little bit mad at me this evening that we didn't get as much time towards the end of summer together. But I am here doing this work for all of them. As we've said before, Women with Black Men is following in the footsteps of Women with Black Women who've been doing this work for 4 years. Every Sunday night, they have been gathering. We have been, and I spoke to Joteka Edie, Holiday, and others that are on there, whether it's Leah Daughtry, Reverend Leah Daughtry, Latoya Jones, or Christina Q, and others. And I'm sure there are many other Black women who I'm missing. Please forgive me. Do not charge it to me. Who have been organizing on a weekly, monthly, daily basis, not only around policy issues, but just in their communities to get Women with Black Women off the ground. The purpose of us being here is, yes, to follow in those footsteps, but also to see where we can pick up the baton and run alongside with them. I know many of us have been watching the Olympics, so forgive that analogy. But our goal is to figure out how we can support making sure that we get Kamala Harris into 1600 Black Lives Matter way. How that we can come up with policy positions that once she is there, they can hear from us very clearly of what we're trying to achieve in her presidency. This is not going to be a blank check. We believe that it's a conversation and is opening the door for that conversation that we can continue to have it. I believe, and many of us here believe, that with her in the White House, we will have someone who will be able to listen to our issues, hear our problems, pass legislation that are going to better our communities, but also be able to welcome us along this road and along this process. So I'm continued grateful to have, as a big brother, Roland Martin, to listen to him and to listen to others tonight as we have this conversation continued. We'll be back again on August 25th following the Democratic National Convention. I hope you all will continue to join us here. Roland, I turn it back over to you. I'm going to try to work on some of our speakers that are trying to get in. If you could, maybe you could, and we're having in some of the conversations here that people are asking. One question that we recently got was, why are Black men in the media holding Vice President Harris to a higher standard of accountability than they are holding Trump? I think that came from Caesar Ote. I'd love to see if you can answer that one.
Sure. I don't think it's just Black men. I think what you're seeing is you're seeing folks in the media make demands. And first of all, when you say Black men in media, I'm a firm believer, be specific. So I'm not sure exactly who you're referring to. And so you see that. You see where folks do that. In fact, just understand, the other day I was talking to a prominent Black Republican who told me he had to cuss out his brother-in-law, who's a Black man, because of the comments that he was making about Kamala Harris. Now, this is a Black Republican, and he was offended by what this brother was saying about Vice President Kamala Harris and sort of this double standard. And he said, man, I had to cuss that Negro out. He said, you ain't going to be sitting here making comments about Vice President Kamala Harris like that, and you married to my sister, who's a Black woman. And so, you know, this thing we're talking about here really requires accountability about individuals. And what we have to understand is that there are a lot of people who have been filled with disinformation. There are individuals out there who are Black men, who have been advancing a lot of BS since 2019 about then Senator Kamala Harris and now Vice President Kamala Harris. They have been lying about her record when it comes to locking Black men up. They have been falling for this disinformation that we have seen from foreign actors. And so we need to understand that is the battle that we are in. We are in a disinformation battle. That's what's going on. So what we need to understand is that what's going on here are people who, and look, some of them flat out, they don't have to support her. You can choose to support whoever you want to. My position is don't start lying. Don't start lying. Don't start making things up. That to me is a fundamental problem. There are 85 days left before election day. But remember, it's a smaller window when it comes to early voting when that starts. And the thing is, it's about running up the margins. That's the whole deal. So, again, I can't speak for anybody out there. I can't speak for Van Jones. I can't speak for Bakari Sellers. I can't speak for Michael Steele, all different people out there. But here's what I say. If there's somebody who's saying something, challenge them. Challenge them. I don't give a damn what Judge Joe Brown has to say. I don't care. I think he's a hater. And so all the crap that he says, frankly, sexist, misogynistic. And understand, you're going to have those people out there. But I think there are more right-thinking brothers. And so what we have to do is be educating other brothers about the facts. That's the key. Educating them about the facts, educating them about reality, and not getting caught up in a lot of this bullshit. Comedian Pierre dropped a 7.5-minute video that I thought was fantastic. Keenan, let me know when we have that, because I thought it was really great how Pierre spoke to the issues. And he spoke to directly to what he's been hearing from brothers. Sam Jackson also put out a video talking about those who are voting abroad. So I want to do this here. I want to play for y'all what comedian Pierre dropped just the other day. I think it's a great lesson. Keenan, roll it.
About black men who just refuse to vote for Kamala. Just refuse. Try to hide it under something else. They can't even verbalize why they refuse, man. But she, she on some bullshit. As in, he's not. He's proven his bullshit, but it's okay. I think it really comes from a mental state. You're still a prisoner of the system. You still don't believe women can control stuff. Even black women can run something. You just don't see that. See, because we're men. Men feel like they need to see other men leading stuff. I'm a man. And a lot of black men still envy white men. Yeah, you heard that. You heard what I said. Envy white men. Look at them as masters. Because most of the white men you come in contact with are your bosses. Yeah, are your bosses. And so you feel like, hey, if it's white, you got to be the boss. And most black women, black men that you come in contact with are not in a, major position, comparatively speaking to white guys. So you can't even believe a sister could do that. A black girl, she do it. She just better, be a secretary or do some little menial job or something like that, a housewife or something, or raise some kids. No, sir. Them days are changing, bro. Them changing. Them days are seriously changing. And I believe it scares black men. That's what it is, some fear in you. And you, instead of being fearful, you should be cheerful. You should be. To see how far we've gotten in this country. Remember, we were brought over here without the skills and the tools and all that kind of stuff and reading situation, and look how far we've gotten. England brought over some of the, after it was discovered, they brought some of the highest scholars and better people over there who are well educated and knew how to do stuff, and we had to learn. We started off way in the back. And look how far we've come. But some of us, black male, still don't believe a black female could be the head of a household, run a company, she'll run a country. Because I think they still see that white man as their master. You heard what I said? Master. You see yourself in, that's why you let that man get away with stuff. Because you even see yourself in that man sometimes. Cheater, liar, bullshit artist. Got money, ain't got money, flossing. You see that. You don't see yourself in a black woman. This was common, And most of the time when you're around people who have money or who are your bosses, black men, are white men. So your mind's already conditioned to believe that's who has to be the boss. Now, I ain't saying all. Before y'all get y'all dudes, you get your panties all in a bunch. But many, too many, just don't see a black woman as someone who could lead. Even though You were raised by a black woman. You just don't see it. Well, things have changed. I don't know if you even know this, fellas, that black women are on the maybe number one group of people who have moved up in the last 20 years, and executives and educated and college graduates. They're moving. They're moving. It's not stopping, bro. It's moving. Are you afraid? Is that what you're afraid of? Well, believe it or not, a well-educated woman, black woman, cares about all kind of black. You too, a black male. So don't think she's going to get in the position to just leave you, kick you to the curb. In fact, black women have been nurturers, and that's what they do, nurture. They're not here to kick you down. They may help you up. They'll help you a lot better than, you know what they call Mr. Cheeto. But when I hear black people say, man, brothers say, man, I ain't voting for her. They don't even know why they ain't voting for her. Man, she on some bullshit, you know. And he's not on some bullshit. And he's not on the bullshit. You let him get them passes? Because he's your master. Like during slavery. The white man was the black man's master, not the black woman. Yeah, he ran everything. The white man ran everything. But to the black woman, her man, her husband, the leader of the household, he was her master. That's why a lot of time when the white man came around, she got quiet because she knew the deviousness. See, when the black man had to grab his hat and around the white man, said, thank you for giving me something. Look over his shoulder. Look over his shoulder. Had that sister looking. Because she was knowing, she was plotting. My family ain't going for this shit for so much longer. You might have had to be up in front of her. I'm sorry, sir. So I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to make a mockery of that, but some of y'all still act that way. People died so we can get away from that feeling to be what we are now. And some of y'all still acting like, white boss. Where's my boss at? Can't be a black woman. Okay. I think a lot of times just because, like I said, black men, you see yourself in that white man. The treachery, the negativity, because we're man, that's what we do. Get out of that. Get out of that. If Kamala wins, I think you'll be very surprised. Very surprised at what she's able to do. I think she's probably going to do more than Obama. To me, Obama did a lot. I don't know if you remember, but we were losing about 750,000 jobs a month when Obama took office. A month. Yeah, that's a lot of jobs to be lost. The economy was sinking. And when he left, we were in a much better position. Okay, he didn't give you $10,000 in your pocket to walk around and buy some new Nikes. But as a whole, we were in a much better position. And then when Trump left, woohoo! When Biden took over, woohoo! That's okay. Black man, stop being afraid. She don't hate you. She being the black woman, she don't hate you. Yes, you're here to protect her. And I promise you she'll protect you too.
So here's the deal. First of all, you can agree, you can disagree, but a lot of what Pierre had to say was on point in terms of what we are hearing. And I think, again, our responsibility is to challenge at every turn. Our responsibility is to correct folks, give them the right information. That's what we must do. And so, when you have some of these folks here, and this is not about party. This is literally about Vice President Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, who will have policies that will have a more positive impact on African Americans, on Black men. That's what we must be talking about. And again, you don't have to agree with what Pierre had to say. But I'm going to tell you right now, I know what I've heard. I know I've heard some crazy stuff. I know we have people who parrot right-wing talking points. And again, you can disagree on policy, but what we're not going to do is allow folks lying about her record. Joining us right now, former state representative out of Washington State, Jesse Johnson. Jesse, welcome to the Win with Black Men call. Jesse, you're up. I think you're on mute.
How's it going, brother?
There you go. There you go.
How's it going? This is Jesse Johnson from sunny Seattle, Washington, ironically. Thank you for having me, Brother Roland. I appreciate it.
Well, glad to have you here. Yep, glad to have you here. What are your thoughts?
So, you know, I am the proud son of a longtime union general contractor, a Navy vet mom, oldest of four, served on the city council here in Federal Way, Washington, just south of Seattle. I'm also the youngest state representative in the Washington State Legislature, where we helped to pass the nation's most comprehensive police reform. And the reason I say all this because representation matters. And yes, this election is about validation for our humanity, but it's also about representation, and it's about protecting our communities and the future of our next generation. When I think about this election, we are going to determine what our next generation's future looks like, right? And I think about how this country started based on stolen land and stolen labor, benefiting white people. And we as Black men have the opportunity to change history and change the course of history. We have to deliberately and intentionally plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize our people in this election, because we can do right by the future of our next generation. I believe it. I'm feeling it. I think our collective spirit is around this election, and we want to make sure that Sister Kamala is in office. We got to get her in the Oval Office. This election is so important. I have two young kids, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, two boys. And when I think about their future, I am worried if we have 45 back in office. We have to have Sister Kamala back in office. So this is our moment, brothers. Again, I'm doing everything I can out here in Washington State. Yes, we have Black people in Washington State, the other Washington, and we're going to make sure she gets back in office. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, Jesse, I appreciate that. And let me explain. You got some people here who are in the chat running their mouths, saying this, that, and the other, being very critical of the vice president. And that's fine. Here's my whole deal. Go somewhere else. If you're that much of a troll that you want to be in this chat on a Sunday evening, that means you ain't got no life whatsoever. So we're focused on, again, giving folks relevant information that speaks to the issues. That, to me, is what's going on. So, again, if y'all one of these folks and that's all you want to do is hate on Vice President Kamala Harris, feel free, get the hell off the chat. I say the same thing, tell folks, you ain't going to watch my show. And so if y'all want to go commiserate with each other, go start your own stream. Go on YouTube, go on Clubhouse, go somewhere else and run your mouth. But we really don't care, because we're focused, organized, and mobilizing these brothers to speak to the issues, and that's what's going on. And so I know some of y'all are begging. Some of y'all are begging me to call you up by name. You're not worth it. So just letting y'all know. All right, folks. Let me say this. All right. So I told you earlier that if you are out of the country, you can still vote in the election. Well, Sam Jackson dropped a video on Instagram talking about that very issue. Keenan, go ahead and roll it.
Hey there, U.S. citizens abroad. Did you know that U.S. citizens overseas have a right to vote in U.S. elections? Well, you do, and your votes count. Your votes made a big difference in key races in 2016 and 2020. What do you have to do? Register at votefromabroad.org. Here's a tip. If you request your ballot by email, it'll be in your inbox on September 21st. All you have to do is vote and send it back. I love that even though you're all over the globe, you still give a damn about your country. Anyone out there that knows an American, please tell them to register to vote at votefromabroad.org. Appreciate you.
All right, Sam Jackson, appreciate that, my brother. So this is a win with black men call, and I see a lot of the comments here. So, but there's a question from a sister that actually I think applies to a lot of folks. So Stephanie Trussell said, not a troll, just hoping to hear one thing Kamala has done as vice president. So Stephanie, let me first explain to you. The vice president of the United States serves at the pleasure of the president. The president sets the agenda. The president sets the tone. But the reality is this here. Vice President Kamala Harris has been leading when it comes to addressing the issue of black maternity. She's been leading on the issue of funding for HBCUs. Do understand, when she was a senator, Stephanie, she was the author of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Also, as vice president, she has been touring the country, speaking on the issues of black economics and providing opportunities for African-American business owners. She's been meeting with black business owners. Those things have been happening. Let me also remind you, Stephanie, that Vice President Kamala Harris is the head of the United States Senate. She has set the record for the most tie votes cast. That's important in her role as Vice President of the United States. So this notion that she hasn't been doing anything is nonsensical. You need to understand how public policy works. Congress passes laws. President signs or vetoes those laws. And so as the vice president, she plays a role based upon what the president needs. Now, those hostages that were just released, when she was in Europe for that conference, she was meeting with the German chancellor and the leaders of other countries, making that possible. So there are a number of things that the vice president has been doing since she's been there 3.5 years ago. All you got to do is literally go to her Instagram page, go to her Twitter page, go to whitehouse.gov, and you will actually see all of the things that the vice president has been involved in. Any number of negotiations on Capitol Hill with foreign leaders as well. That's the work the vice president has been engaged in. I also need to say this here. A lot of people, I see them asking, and so Stephanie goes, she visited an abortion clinic, but she also visited when she was in Nashville, Stephanie, if your actual name is Stephanie. She also sat with the Tennessee Three, stood with them. She also was at the funeral in Buffalo when those black folks were gunned down in the supermarket. She also was at the funeral of the brother who was beaten by those cops in Memphis. So she's been speaking out on the issues. She's been addressing the issues. So here's the question, Stephanie Trussell, if that's really who you are. What else you want to know? Again, you're sitting here, you're commenting. What else you got to say? Real quiet. Now, let's also correct this here. She was never the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her, but she was never the border czar. That is simply incorrect. And again, this is why the information is so important. This is why people need to realize what's going on. And so somebody said, Roland, a lot of people getting their news from Trump. Yeah, well, y'all should be watching Roland Unfiltered because we cover this stuff every day. Let me also explain to y'all. This Department of Justice Civil Rights Division is the most aggressive since Bobby Kennedy was Attorney General. Okay? The most aggressive. Also, again, first of all, Stephanie, you're lying. She was not the border czar. You're a liar. You're flat out lying. So clearly you're a troll, and that's what you are. And so if you want to talk about, oh, what does she do for the economy? I remember when all those Republicans said the Inflation Reduction Act was not going to lower inflation. It did. I remember when all these Republicans were sitting here spouting this nonsense about, oh, we're not going to be able to, in terms of the recovery plan, oh, the infrastructure plan. Remember, every single week, Donald Trump kept saying infrastructure week, and they never had a bill. Biden-Harris got a bill passed that is the largest amount of money spent on America's infrastructure since President Eisenhower. That's a fact. Trump, 4 years, did nothing on the infrastructure. Biden-Harris got it done in 2. Those are facts. Those are facts. So, again, we're answering some of your questions. Let's see here. Khalil, let me know who's the next speaker. Let's see here. Ambrose Lane. He is the founder of Black Men for Harris. Ambrose, welcome to the call. Ambrose, you're live.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You can hear me? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you, Brother Roland. I appreciate it. And thank you for all the brothers that are on the call. My name is Ambrose Lane Jr., and I am chairing Black Men for Harris. We are linked and complementary to the Win with Black Men effort. Our goal is to focus on the DMV, that is the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. Certainly in the Maryland race, we're trying to make sure that Angela Also Brooks will win her Senate seat, and all of the delegate races that we are looking at as well, so that we can build from the ground. In Virginia, a lot of people don't remember, Virginia is a purple state. They just got finished electing a Republican governor, and we are looking to get the vote out in the Richmond area all the way down to the Tidewater, Norfolk area. In DC, we're certainly fighting some local issues, but we're still going to get the vote out. We are linked with many of the go-go bands. We're trying to establish something called Go-Go the Vote, or Go-Go Vote, which will appeal to young people through the music to get them out to register to vote and to vote. We're also working with Win with Black Men on developing a Black man's agenda. I know that there's been a lot of discussion about people making comments, Black men making comments about an election of a woman. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. We don't even need to give it the time of day. We just need to grind. And that's what we're about with Black Men for Harris. We are trying to grind. The last time that we met on the Zoom call, I suggested that we organize Black men to assemble in the state capitals, at the very least, of the swing states sometime towards the end of September, as a prelude to an early get out the vote in some of these swing states. There will be early voting sometime in October in many of the swing states, and I propose that we do a mobilization at the end of September by gathering in state capitals, and then from there going out and organizing and getting Black men to register and to vote, and speaking to them with purpose. We have had conversations on this platform talking about how Black men are disgruntled and they're disappointed, and they have a right to be. In our organization, we've had conversations with Black men for over a year and a half, Black men and boys actually, from age 8 to age 80. And many issues culminate around economics. They culminate around the lack of access to opportunity. And we've got to be able to speak to them in such a way that says that, number one, by the election of Kamala Harris, that there will be increased opportunities that will happen. But we also have to hold, if Kamala is elected, we have to hold her administration accountable. We in the framework of developing a Black man's agenda. This agenda should exist regardless of who wins, and it should exist regardless of elections. We need to develop a Black man's agenda, an agenda that speaks to all of us everywhere we are. We can't speak to every single issue, but we can certainly craft some things, some language that holds those that want to run for office accountable and says to them, do you support this agenda for Black men? The issues that we have been talking about in these conversations with Black men for the last year and a half has certainly created issues that need to be spoken to by elected officials. And we need to hold them accountable. So I think that our job, I think that our calling, in addition to getting Kamala Harris elected, is to create our Black agenda for Black men, so that that agenda speaks regardless of whether or not an election occurs. It doesn't have to just come out when there is a national election or even a statewide election or even local elections. The Black man's agenda should be there, sustained, ongoing, until the issues that face Black men are addressed. So if we do those two things, get Kamala Harris elected, send the message to our young brothers and sisters that this is an important election, that we are under threat from Project 2025, that Project 2025 seeks to undermine the very essence, the very communities that we come from, the very culture that we uphold. That's what Project 2025 seeks to destroy, and that we are under threat, and that this election matters because of those things. Those messages will resonate with young brothers that are disgruntled and dismayed, but we still have to send that message. We also have to share the message of what Kamala Harris has done. I think that if we do those two things, focus on what 2025 is threatening our communities and our families with, and speak to the successes that Kamala Harris has won and had under Joe Biden, then we can have a message that will generate some energy and will motivate young Black brothers that are disgruntled to vote. So I'm hoping that we can continue these conversations. We have work to do, and we are going to do our part. Black Men for Harris is going to do our part in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and maybe even beyond. Thank you.
All right, then. I certainly appreciate that. Thank you so very much, Ambrose. Thanks a lot. Listen, folks, there is a whole lot that is going on, a whole lot in this campaign. And one of the things that you may have heard Vice President Kamala Harris said that she was going to be speaking to the issues. She's going to be dropping some economic policy positions next week. She'll be unveiling more of those policy positions, in her particular speech in the Democratic National Convention. So we look forward to that. Now, if y'all want to really laugh, I mean, what's a trip? So let me tell you how desperate Donald Trump is. These fools now are saying, oh my God, Vice President Kamala Harris, they're using AI for her crowd size. That's when you know when you're losing, when the best you can do is come up with that. And so I love somebody dropped this video here and they said, sorry, this ain't AI, Donald Trump. This was a real thing when she rolled up in Detroit. Hires actors to show up at his rallies and events. And so again, y'all see the silliness that you have going on here. They're trying to suggest that they're using AI. The man is so ridiculous. I mean, this idiot actually said He said he had bigger crowds than Dr. King did the marching in Washington for jobs and freedom. Y'all, 53,000 people had his speech on January 6th. 250,000 went to march in Washington. Dude, go sit down. But y'all understand, these are the lies that you're going to see, and they're going to keep coming and keep coming, keep coming. Let's go to a grassroots organizer from Alabama. Chris Mosley joins us right now. Chris, tell us what's happening on the ground there. What are you hearing or what are you seeing? Chris, go right ahead.
Good evening, Roland. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you to my good friend Khalil. So I'm Chris Mosley. Can you hear me? Good. So I'm Chris.
Yeah, Chris, go ahead. You're live. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so Roland, what I wanted to actually say is what is happening here. I am in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay,
so
Chris, do this here. Don't listen to the program. Turn that down.
Okay.
You're in the speaker's room because you're hearing the delay. So turn that down. Just talk straight. You're in the speaker's room, and so you can hear me right here, not through program. Go ahead.
Great. So I am in Birmingham, Alabama.
Chris, just talk. Don't, Chris, do this here. Just take your headphones off, or just don't worry about the audio. Just talk. Now you probably need your headphones because you got a microphone. So ignore audio. So put your headphones back on. Put your headphones back on. Don't listen to the program because there's a delay. Okay? So just start talking. Don't worry about it. Go. Hold on. Chris, make sure your mute button is not on.
So I am here in
Now you're good. Go.
Alabama. Chris Mosley. Thank you for this opportunity. Am I still muted, Roland?
Nope, you're good. Go.
Great. So I'm here in Alabama, in the city of Birmingham. Just my congresswoman is Terry Sewell, and I have been working pretty much to work in Congressional District 2. Also, that is very important because Shamari Figures is on the ballot. This is a new district that is reestablished here in the state of Alabama. So as far as what I have been doing, we are going to be pushing into Georgia as a part of this effort. We did do this with Senator Warnock some time ago. And so as the home of Fred Shuttlesworth, and we've had the opportunity just to do so much work here in the South, and I'm glad to be a part of this.
All right, then. I certainly appreciate it, bro. Thank you so very much. I see somebody asked this question about what Donald Trump had to say about police immunity. And so when all y'all people, I see a bunch of y'all commenting, when you hear people talk about, criminal justice reform, let me remind y'all, when Trump was in the Oval Office, Jeff Sessions was his first attorney general. They tried to end the consent decree in Baltimore. Jeff Sessions literally said, we want to pull back on consent decrees because they're making the cops uncomfortable. His replacement, Bill Barr, said the exact same thing. Now, if y'all care about police brutality, and you want to see that end, and you want to see stop and frisk end, I want you to listen to what Donald Trump had to say about police immunity. Listen clearly. Ain't my words. These are his words.
We're going to give back our law enforcement. We're going to give them back the respect that they deserve. They are being treated so badly. If they do something that's harsh to stop a crime, they end up losing their pension. They end up losing their job. They end up losing their family and their home. And I'm giving immunity to police all over the country.
Now, the fact is, Vice President Kamala Harris, she supports. Vice President Kamala Harris she believes in police being held accountable, believes in the police, again, being held accountable. This man wants to give 100% immunity. 100% immunity to police. You heard him say it out of his own mouth. Y'all better pay attention to what's going on. Let me go to Mike McCreary. Mike is a senior advisor for Win with Black Men. Mike McCreary, go right ahead.
Greetings, brothers. How you doing? Can you hear me, Roland?
Yep, we got you. Go right
How you
ahead.
doing, my brothers? My name is Michael McQuarrie. I am originally from Detroit, Michigan, one of the battleground states, and I'm actually here in Georgia right now, another battleground state where my parents at. But Khalil Thompson, he referenced a New York Times article earlier that came out today that I think we need to address a few things. The article underscores a vital ongoing discussion about the relationship between Black male voters and the Democratic Party, particularly in the context of Vice President Kamala Harris' outreach efforts. We recognize the concerns raised and the importance of addressing them directly and thoughtfully. Vice President Harris has consistently demonstrated her commitment to Black men, not just as voters, but as integral members of the community whose voices must be heard. Her policies on criminal justice reform, economic empowerment, healthcare access, and education are tailored to address the specific challenges faced by Black men. The skepticism of this article is a result of historical and systemic neglect. We understand why some Black men may feel disconnected from the political process. It's crucial to acknowledge the skepticism and work to build trust through transparent matters. So we have a call to action, brothers. To the stakes in the upcoming election are high, and it's critical that Black men engage in the political process. We cannot afford to be passive or disengaged. So we at Win with Black Men encourage Black men to learn about the policies that impact them, participate in discussions, and make their voices heard by voting. Thanks for having me, Roland.
All right, then. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, again, I just want you to understand what's going on here, what's at play when we talk about how important this election is. We've talked a lot about Project 2025. Let me be real clear. Project 2025 is absolutely about the agenda that impacts us. Donald Trump wants to play dumb. Oh, I don't know anything about it, even though his own vice president wrote the foreword to the book authored by the author of the leader of the Heritage Foundation, which is over Project 2025. Y'all got to understand what's going on. You got to understand what these folks are doing. You got to understand what their playbook is. So the bottom line is, what you're seeing is you're seeing individuals who are doing all they can, who want to set the agenda. In fact, the folks at ProPublica actually found a lot of the training videos of Project 2025, and I just want to show you a 2-minute clip of one of those videos so you understand what they're trying to do and how they want to use executive orders. This is also what you're voting against. In Project 2025, they want to go after every program in America that benefits African Americans economically, for housing, for education. Y'all, it's in there. They want to tackle what they call anti-white racism. It's all in there. So I want you to check this out. Here we go.
Executive orders.
Executive orders.
Executive order.
Executive orders.
Executive order.
Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. 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 Executive orders. Executive order. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive orders. Executive orders. Executive order. Executive order. Executive order. Executive orders.
So I want you to understand, folks, their plan is very clear. Their plan is to use executive orders as much as they can. I'm trying to tell you what's going on here. They are executing a plan, and they're trying to back off of it because it's gotten so much attention. Because after Taraji P. Henson, I'm reading somebody who texted me, Brother Muhammad, Taraji P. Henson, after she mentioned Project 2025, the BET Awards, the search numbers went up. And they have been trying to knock it down because they don't want people to know what's in Project 2025. And what is in there is absolutely detrimental to Black people. It's nearly 1,000 pages. So play games if you want to, but I'm telling you, it does not bode well for us. Just letting y'all know that. Let's see here. I'm looking here. Somebody's, yes, executive orders don't go through Congress. Yep. Yes, Damon is correct. In Project 2025, all public school students, we automatically sign up for the military. Let's see here. Randy Marsh is a liar. Kamala cares more about immigrants than you. Well, that's stupid, and it's a lie. So let me go. Okay, so this Made in Africa. It seems this channel is not for reparations. Okay, Made in Africa. Let me explain to you, because clearly you don't understand how Congress works. Read the Constitution Made in Africa. Any bill that involves money starts in the House of Representatives. That's where it starts. So you want reparations. How are you going to get it? You need votes. You need 218 votes in the House. Right now, Republicans control the House. Made in Africa. Answer this question for me. Name me one Republican that supports reparations. I'll wait. Still waiting. Still waiting. Still waiting. Because there are none. Now, if it passes the House, it's got to get 60 votes in the Senate. Right now, Democrats have a 2-vote margin. Sinema is an independent. Manchin is an independent. Now it's 50-50. So let's say Democrats control the Senate after November, 51-49. How are you going to get the other 9 votes made in Africa? Please tell me what 9 Republicans are you going to get the votes from? So let's say it passes the House. Let's say it passes the Senate. Let's say the president signs it. It's going to get sued. Oh, that means it's going to go through the federal courts. Oh, why are federal judges so important? Under Biden-Harris, we have had 200 federal judges confirmed. 58 Black. 37 women, 21 Black men. The Supreme Court is a 6-3 conservative majority. So, please tell me, how are you going to now get this through? We already saw Republicans sue over the Black farmers' money. So, if you're yelling reparations, you need to have a plan of action, and it has to start in the House. Tell me how you get it out of the House with 218 votes. I'll wait. All right, let's see here. Now, remember, folks, you have a donation button there. The way we structured this, half of the money given goes to the campaign. The other half goes to Black male grassroots organizations that are going to be on the ground, who are going to be doing all of the work. Who are going to be doing all of the work. So Khalil is going to come back on to explain to you, if you are a grassroots leader, how you can apply for one of these grants of the money we've raised so far. Khalil, go ahead.
Roland, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. I appreciate you engaging with a lot of folks that are here. This is not a one-sided conversation. Again, we've always said that Black people are not a monolith, and so we want to have various different viewpoints being heard, but we want the truth to be shared. So I appreciate you taking us through a civics lesson that you just did to share with others who may not know. This process that we are in, this moment that we are in, this movement that we are in, yes, we are here to support Kamala Harris, our vice president, to become the next president of the United States, but it doesn't just stop with her. If you're running for city council, if you're running for sheriff, state's attorney, district attorney, judicial races in your community, we need to know about you. If you're a Black man that's on the ticket, or Black woman, or others that are supporting our community and the ideals that are going to protect our communities, please let us know. Reach out to info@winwithblackmen.org and share your candidacy. There's something that I'm going to talk about in just a second. Our grants process is still ongoing. Please continue to fill out the application. We'll make sure we get an email out about that on Tuesday. I want to shout out my team, though, who's always here. Keenan from Roland Martin's show. I want to make sure I give you a huge shout out. You've always been a huge supporter in helping us get this program on the ground. Ernestine Dawson, Robert Apong, Chelsea Okoro, Mike McQuarrie, Yolanda Richardson, Aria Wilson, and others who have left our team, Selassie Kalan, and others who are no longer on our team here, but have still been, Jack Logren, and others who are still very supportive of us. Just want to shout you out. A quick shout out to, I know of a couple that has actually reached out to me. It's at dinner right now. AJ Colbert and Joy Cheney. Thank you for enjoying this conversation over your meal. Wouldn't be a date if it wasn't with Women with Black Men. And truly appreciate former State Representative Jesse Johnson for joining on. I know my other co-hosts, Mike Blake, Quentin James, and Bakari Sellers are here in spirit and couldn't join us, but again, want to shout them out, as well as our board, Tommy Jones, Aaron Jenkins, Brian Wood, and Sam Johnson. So again, our grants process, we're going to continue, and there's an email coming out this Tuesday that's going to be 3 to 5 facts. We are going to share those every Tuesday. It's going to hit your inbox. 3 to 5 facts that you need to know about Kamala Harris that you can take back to your communities. In that email on Tuesday will be an update again for the link where you can apply for your grant process. The money that we raised about 3 weeks ago doesn't come to Women with Black Men. I want to let you all know. Prior to this, and Chris Mosley and other friends know, this was a passion project that was done out of love, funded out of the personal credit card and bank account of mine. And so we were just starting getting it off the ground. We didn't even have Women with Black Men bank account. We have changed those things now. But the money did not come to us. It's going in part to the campaign, but also directly to you all on the ground. So I saw some of you have reached out to us to ask for guidance. please fill out that form. We will bump it again via the email on Tuesday. And so make sure that we can get it out to everyone to apply. We know there are many groups. I grew up here in Washington, D.C., as Ambrose and I were talking earlier today over by the big chair in Anacostia. For those that don't know, the Heart of Go-Go and Chuck Brown, Ben's Chili Bowl, and others. There are many groups that are doing amazing work on the ground. That's not Win with Black Men. A lot of our work that we focus on is starting a national conversation. And so we want to make sure that funding gets to you directly so that you can continue that work. I do not know how large or how small it is, but we want to make sure we can be supportive. My partners in Quentin, James, and others are helping leading that effort to intake those. And we have a group that's reviewing those applications. So it's not one person over the other. I think I had someone reach out and wanted to talk with me through it. I appreciated it, but I quickly said, hey, I'm not involved in the selection process because I want to make sure it is unbiased and fair. The next thing I would do is I want to talk about Project 2025. What I love is that we're having this conversation. What I love is that in our first call, or I think it was our second call, Roland mentioned the Plum Book, for those that you don't know. Sorry, I'm just bringing myself a quick note. Far too often we find ourselves in the community focusing on the problem when the shovel is going in the ground. As Ambrose and Chris and others know, at the community level, we show up when the tractors are pulling up. Doesn't mean we haven't tried to make our voices heard, but in my time in city government, municipal government, state and federal, I find far too often we may not just know the levers to push early, or we may not know how to organize early so that we're attending that zoning board meeting and we're understanding where we need to apply that pressure as a community member. How do we have a conversation in the community deliberations so that we're seeing something on the back end, a part of that development come through to us? Or in the case of Project 2025, I know my good brother Michael Blake is working on this right now. How are we building our own that talks on and touches on policy positions that are important to us, prepares us for? Now, it doesn't mean that you have to have a college degree. It could be a civil service job, which are amazing jobs in our community that you serve. It could be another job in the federal government. It could be a landscaper, could be an electrician, could be a tradesman through a labor job. And we reach out to our labor brothers, and hopefully on the next call, we're working with them to have others on here. And I'm going to speak about that in a second. But we want to make sure that you have if you have never written a resume, we can focus you and get you in the right areas in the community. I want to shout out Karen McCrae for the work that her group is doing, Concerned Black Men, and others that are working on the ground to provide resources to people. So get your resume ready. If you have back taxes that you owe, some of us may have had a moment where we didn't write that check to Uncle Sam. You got to make sure you get those corrected. If there's other areas and avenues in your life that you need to just button up before you make that application, we're asking you to do that now. We don't want to wake up come January 6th and start applying for jobs and working our way through. We know that there are others from other communities that have been paying attention to what that Plum Book looks like. It's public. It's there. You can go and Google it right now, the Plum Book, and see their jobs that are in there so that you can understand where you can fit inside the federal government long term. But we need to be prepared to start doing that work early. And I'm glad we're having that conversation in July and in late June with our communities. Right now because of Project 2025, but we need to continue that conversation going. I think many of us have said, yes, we are here because we want to support an amazingly qualified, amplified, credible Black woman in Vice President Kamala Harris to make sure she can be our next president of the United States. But it does not stop there. We need to be prepared to work, to do the work, to have people that we can call on in the federal government long after she gets elected so that we can support them throughout their work. So let's think ahead. The other 4 things I'm going to touch on, then I'm going to turn it back over to you, Roland, is about policy. We are working on, and Ambrose and Mike Blake and Quentin and our board and others have shared with us 5 policy positions. We are not trying to solve all of, and nor can we, nor should we sign up to solve all of the issues that happen for Black men in our community. But we are trying to find 5 substantive policy issues that we can work on today to work with President Biden right now to get passed in his administration before the end of his administration in January. We believe that there are 5 substantive things, whether it's an executive order on the Crown Act. We know that young man in Texas who is still suspended, who's not been able to graduate because of the locks in his hair. That is important. Yes, it may seem small fruit to some, but it is very important that we figure out how we can support our community and work on legislation that are small wins, but are incremental to steps to making vital, necessary change. And then we're working on 5 policy positions that we can bring to the Harris-Walz administration in 2025 to continue that accountability, but also to continue that conversation. As Ambrose mentioned, and I want to give him credit for Black Men for Harris and others, we are working on a national organizing campaign that comes off of the heels of some of the work that we're trying to do. So again, back to school is coming up. Women with Black Men is organizing back to school gauntlets. Those meaning that Black men will stand and welcome people, for the young men and women, children in our communities, back to their schools. We're going to be looking to focus on schools that are polling locations that we can share vital information. And out of that idea, as I shared it with Ambrose and Black Men for Harris and Robert Johnson over there as well, we are going to organize 1 million Black men around the country in their states, around their state capitals. And we want this from Washington State, Alaska, to Florida, to Maryland, to Maine, to wherever you are around this country. And forgive me if I did not call out your state, it's not intentional. We want you to organize Black men to show up as early voting starts in your state capitals, to make sure that you can remind people we are here. We are not just, if you wear your, and Roland did this in one of our first calls, if you got your rodeo buckle and your cowboy hat and you're in Montana, we want you to show up. I know there was a mayor of, I think it was Missoula, a Black African immigrant that was elected mayor out there in Montana. We want you to come out. If you got your J's and you're in Brooklyn, we want you to show out. If you know your house music in Chicago, we need you to show out. We need our Black men to come out in large numbers to show that we are here to support, but we're also here to be recognized. So that is the organizing piece. The fundraising piece continues. As you know, you can see it, secura.actblue.com/donate/TCP-Kamala. Please continue to donate so that we can make these micro grants continued out to the community. I know Quentin and Mike and Bakari will be continuously to force me to make sure we push that out there, as well as we are working very hard. I know there were a lot of jokes, and we appreciated them from our first call about the colors of the flyer that was produced. It was not intentional, but I know Roland loves it, as well as the conversations that were going around many men who either went to a 4-year college or a 2-year college. But we have actually reached out to our labor community, whether it's Sam Epps over at Unite Here, Kenny Diggs over at ASME, Rasheem Wright and Kyrie Grimes over at SEIU, or Herb Smith over at AFGE. And I know there are others that I have not been a chance, I forget the president's name over at CWA, forgive me. But we are trying our best to reach out to the labor community and others who may not have served with a white collar or going to a 4-year institution, and that is okay. We want to have tradesmen, labor leaders, journeymen to join this call and express their support or their reasoning for why they are supporting Vice President Kamala Harris to be our next president. So our goal here is to truly make this be an inclusive conversation. We are working very hard, and the team is working very hard to work with Roland here with the Black Star Network to make sure that we are recognizing every Black man that we can, but also knowing we are not going to be able to solve all of the ills of the Black community, especially that are facing Black men. So again, we are working on showing up early, not just focusing on Project 2025 as a problem, but also creating a resume bank. And I know Mike Blake is leading in that effort that we can pull together. If you need help with writing your resume, you can reach out to info@womenblackmen.org. We will try to get you in touch with the right resources. Also making sure we're prepared. Google the Plum Book tonight. Our micro grants and our Tuesday email for the resources of where the campaign stands, particular policy issues and things, 3 to 5 things that you should know. That's coming out every Tuesday. Policy that we're working on, 5 policy items that we're going to work with to try to see if we can get passed either via executive order or some sort of policy action underneath the Biden administration, and then following up with another 5 that we're going to work over the next 4 years, whoever it is, but we hope that person will be Vice President Kamala Harris to being our next president, and then Vice President nominee Governor Walz in the White House. Lastly, organizing in our communities, whether it's back to school at our gauntlets, where we will work with community groups on the ground in certain states, but also want people to take on this baton on their own. We have a background check process that we do have in place because we want to keep our children safe and making sure that we're providing a safe environment for those that do show up. And then fundraising so that we can continue to support the grassroots efforts for those on the ground. And then lastly, making sure that this is not a white collar ivory tower conversation, but bringing it back to the brothers that we know who are doing work all over our community, but may not have had the opportunity to go to college, but still have a valued and valuable voice in this conversation. Roland, thank you again, always for leading. I know We are probably going to cut it just a little bit short tonight, but we are working on getting members of the campaign from the Harris-Walz campaign here to be represented next week, so they can speak on voter protection. They can speak on how you can get engaged in the campaign themselves. We're also hoping next week when we're on the 25th. I'm sorry, not next week. On October 25th, following Democratic National Convention, that Sunday at 7 p.m. Everybody, please continue to join. The store will be live where you can get your Win with Black Men T-shirt. And then again, our Tuesday email policy that'll come out. Roland, back over to you, but thank you again for leading, brother.
Appreciate it. So let me do this here. I want to do a couple of other civics points, and I just think it's important for people to understand. Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito, 2 Supreme Court justices, both hardcore right wing. Justice Thomas absolutely wants to get rid of the Voting Rights Act. They're both in their 70s. So the likelihood is that whoever wins in November could very well appoint 1 or 2 Supreme Court justices. Let's say it's 2. So right now, conservatives have a 6-3 majority on the U.S. Supreme Court. If Alito and Thomas retires, and there's no guarantee, remember, it's a lifetime appointment. That means that if Vice President Kamala Harris is president, she will replace 2 Supreme Court justices, meaning progressives will have a 5-4 majority on a Supreme Court. That is huge. If Trump wins, you can guarantee they're going to retire, and they will lock in conservative majority for the next 50 years. They will appoint young justices like Amy Coney Barrett in their 40s so they can serve the next 40 plus years. I'm just letting y'all know what the plan is. Now, let me also remind you this. Now, I see a bunch of y'all saying, expand the court if they don't retire. Guys, you can't expand the court if you don't control the House and the Senate. I need y'all to understand. You got to understand how all of this is connected. So you have critical races for the Democrats to control the Senate. They got to win Ohio, Sherrod Brown. They got to win in Nevada. They got to win Tester's seat in Montana. They got to win the seat in Arizona. Y'all, this is real. They got to win Casey's seat in Pennsylvania. Do understand why voting matters. I told you last time, 50,000 fewer people in Milwaukee voted in 2022. Mandela Barnes, who's the lieutenant governor of Wisconsin, lost to MAGA Senator Ron Johnson by 26,000 votes. Had the 50,000 people in Milwaukee voted in 2022 like they did in 2020, Mandela Barnes will be the United States Senator, and that's 1 vote closer to the 60 you need to pass laws. So understand why voting in the presidential race, in the U.S. Senate races, and the House races matter. And then keep going down. Gubernatorial races. You had a contested Senate race in Florida. It's no guarantee Rick Scott will get reelected. He can be beaten if folks in Florida vote. So now you go governor, state rep, state senator, county commissioner, city council, school board, DA, judicial races. We have to understand all of these things are interconnected. African Americans in the last 5 election cycles, our voting numbers have gone down. Let me say it again. Our numbers have gone down. One second, because I want to pull this up for you. Because I need you to understand we are leaving our power at home. This cannot be an election about the couch. We must understand we got to be in the game. This is from Pew Research Center. See right here. Look at the numbers right here. Black eligible voter population in the U.S. is projected to reach 34.4 million, up 7% from 2020. Up 7%. Look at this here. In Georgia, a closely watched swing state, Black Americans account for a third of eligible voters. Now, eligible doesn't mean actual voters. Look at this here. The percentage of the Black Americans were projected to account for 14% of all eligible voters. Now, that number changes. Look at this right here. As of 2022, about half of Black eligible voters live in one of 8 states. Look at the numbers right here. Texas has the most Black eligible voters in 2022, 2.9 million. Then Georgia, then Florida, then New York State, then California. The percentage of Black eligible voters, the percentage of all eligible voters who are Black, DC, 45%, Mississippi, 37%, Georgia, 33%, Maryland, 33%, Louisiana, 32%. We can sit here and talk all day about Black voting power, and we need this and we need that. That means nothing if you sit at home. That means nothing. See, these are Black eligible voters. That's not actual Black voters. You saw that number right there. Louisiana, 32% of all eligible voters in Louisiana who are Black, 32%. But in the last election, y'all, they stayed at home. So we have potential power. Listen to me. Potential power. I am sitting in a home studio. I have 7 lights. I have a camera. I have a video monitor, a laptop. I have a switcher, iPad, 2 iPhones. None of this could work. Ethernet. None of this could work if I don't plug it in. I cannot produce without power. Voting is you plugging in to power. Now remember, voting is the end of one process, the beginning of another. Our focus right now is to register people and get them to vote. And the day after the election, as Khalil, you heard Khalil say, then our goal is to mobilize and organize to make them do what they said, what they promised to do. So that's going to be our focus. Again, we want to keep educating you. The numbers are the numbers, but we have got to you our power. Folks, that's it. Let me thank all the speakers. Let me thank Khalil. Let me thank Kenan. Thank everybody for joining us. If you got friends and they missed this, share the video. We're on YouTube. Share it all with everyone because we've got, because remember, Black voters matter only if we vote. Y'all enjoy your Sunday. Take care. Holla! I'll see you tomorrow on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live at 6 p.m. Eastern. By the way, Isaac Hayes III, his family, they have filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump for 134 unauthorized usages of Isaac Hayes' music. They have slapped him with that lawsuit and are demanding $3 million. I will talk with Isaac and his attorney, James Walker, tomorrow on the show. I'll see you tomorrow.